Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. In this video, I'm going to be explaining to you how you can change people's perception of who you are. Now, of course, the easy way to get over this is to simply not care what people think, but what I want to do is explain it from this point of view of understanding the mechanics that are involved in this process so that we understand how we are projecting our self-image. Because at a fundamental energy level, we are projecting our self-image out to other people. Now, maybe we're not trying to project, maybe we're just authentically being ourselves, but the idea behind this is that whoever we're being in the moment, the emotions that we're embodying, the beliefs about who we are being projected out to other people. People are picking up on that and then pinging, responding to us based upon that energy state. So the power in this is really understanding how to become completely accepting of who we are, then getting ourselves to a place to shaping the way we view ourselves and really acting from a place of confidence, expressing ourselves with no filter, and then other people will start to perceive us in a new light. Now, this video was inspired by a subscriber that commented in one of my videos. She asked the question, and it was a video on the idea of parallel realities, which I know is like an esoteric concept, but she was asking the question, how can I shift myself to a parallel reality where I am taller? And my answer to that was that maybe it is not relevant for you to become taller. Just like it might not be relevant, as much as I'd love to win the lottery, it might not be relevant for my life. And let me explain that. The idea is that my purpose in life and what I am doing might be side-railed if I won like $100 million. Maybe I wouldn't feel as much like a fire in my belly to be putting out a lot of content, to be having this intention of doing what I'm doing if that were to happen. So while I might try really hard to win the lottery, it may not happen because it may not be relevant. Now, in the same way, it might not be relevant for you to become taller because you may be more relevant for you to actually just accept yourself 100%. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but the idea is that you are projecting your self-image out to other people based upon who you are being. Now, this is where the power of this video is. Understand that if we have a charge about who we are, so a charge means that we could have a positive charge. We could feel a certain way about ourselves, be very happy with certain characteristics we have. That is a charge, that proudness, whatever that emotion is. Now, on the other side of that, we could have a negative charge, something that says, I wish I was taller, I wish I was more attractive, I wish that I had this or this feature or this feature. As we have that charge, that is also a charge. That might be a negative charge or a positive charge. Then we have the idea of neutrality, which is where we really don't care one way or the other. Now, because we are normally having some perspective about ourselves, either on the positive or the negative, when we go out and we meet other people, we are projecting those charges to other people. So if we have a charge that says, oh, I'm not tall enough, we are projecting that out, and that other person will start to feel it, maybe even at subconscious levels, that thought, that feeling that I am not where I want to be in terms of my attraction level or my height or whatever it is. But if we simply start to accept ourselves 100%, we start to move the needle from that charge to feeling acceptance, which is where we're more neutral or even grateful for who we are. Grateful and realizing really that those characteristics of the way that, we might have don't actually completely like label who we are. We're much more vast than just the physical characteristics of who we are. It's about really understanding that and really understanding our energy state of who we are and how we view ourselves. So when you go into a room and you see other people, you are projecting certain characteristics about yourself. Other people are picking up on that and pinging them back to you. Now, I know in my life I've seen this in a couple different examples. Now, one of those is there was this guy that was not a judgmental way. He's actually a friend of mine, but he had a certain look to him to where you wouldn't look at him and be like, oh, this dude's good with the ladies. Like, you wouldn't really look at him and just think like, macho dude that like max it with the girls, But nonetheless, he always had like one of the most gorgeous girlfriends you can imagine, and consistently you know, over years, he was always just with some of the hottest girls you could think of or you could see. And what I realized was that he embodied a level of confidence because he was so like accepting of who he is and he really didn't care what other people think, that energy state would then attract the idea of the caliber of person, I guess, that, you know, that he wanted or whatever, you know, he was attracted to. So it's the idea that he was projecting a different self-image than maybe other people had of him. He was projecting himself in just a way where he was accepting of himself. He was confident about who he is. And then it's almost like people just, you know, that's such an attractive quality that it then put him on the level to where he was just always able to date whoever he wanted. Now, I know that's a very superficial example. I'm not saying that, you know, either of those two things are like the most important thing, but I'm saying it's just something I was aware of. And you may have even known people in your life that were able to kind of do things that you wouldn't necessarily assume, but based upon their energy state or just how they thought about themselves, other people picked up on that as well. Now, another example, now this is getting a little bit personable too, is, and I always kind of felt this, I had one of my ex-girlfriends, and she never told me this till afterwards, but I'm not saying and giving this excuse away, but I remember that anytime we'd go out to dinner, you know, we would go out to dinner and I would pay for the bill. And every now and then what I would do is, you know, she would go to like grab money to pitch in for it. I'm like, no, don't pitch in, just, you know, just tip if you want. Like, you just tip or whatever, you know, going out once or twice a week. It's like, you know, just tip if you want. And I know it sounds like a very medial type thing, but I would say that, and then I found out like 6 months later or something, that she always despised that in one of her ex-boyfriends. And this is the weird thing. I never have had the the inclination to say to to a girlfriend or someone I'm dating, yeah, just throw in for tip, you know. I normally just pay for it and go. Like, I don't really think about it. But it was funny because I felt almost an urge to say that or to do that, to like say, oh, you could just do that if you want. And looking back at it and knowing that she had that charge to where she hated it when her ex-boyfriend would say, throw in for tip, because her idea behind it was you either pay or you don't, like you're doing it because you want to. That was, you know, her thought process on it. Then that charge was something I felt, I guess, kind of influenced me in a way. Now, I'm not giving it away with power and like saying that it was like her fault at all, but I will say that I felt that urge, and I used to think to myself that maybe at a certain level, there was like a projection of that energy, and I picked up on that, and therefore that's when the desire was for me to say, hey, why don't you just pitch in your money for tip? You don't have to pay for the bill, but tip. So that's just a mild example. I know it's kind of relevant, kind of not, but you and me are picking up on each other's vibes, on each other's beliefs about who we are. And if we start to accept ourselves and move the needle from the idea of the negative charge to just accepting ourselves or even being grateful for who we are, we will then project ourselves as a new self-image, and people will respond in a powerful way. So what are some ways that you can start to accept yourself? Well, you could first off realize that you are more than just the characteristics that you embody. The potential that you have, the things that you can do in your life are far beyond the superficiality of the way that you appear or even the level of your height or whatever it is. What's more important is who you are being, and that's why I always hammer down on this idea. Who are you being in the moment? What are you doing with your life? Are you doing your passion? Are you acting in self-love is really about doing what you want to do and then giving value to other people based upon you being the leading example of expressing yourself 100%. So a way that you could start to accept yourself more is just by being yourself more, taking off the filter of how you think you have to act. Anytime you think you have to be different than you are, what you're doing is you're then having that negative needle, wherever that's sitting on that charge, that gap is the negative emotion and the resistance that we feel. If we start to see ourselves in a new light, and we can do this by simply realizing we can be grateful, you know, if the person asking the question was like, oh, how can I be okay with my height? Well, you could look at it if you're 5'2", and you could be happy that you're not 5 foot. Now, I know that's more of a superficial way of looking at it, and you don't want to think that you're better than anybody else, but you could start to be grateful for wherever you are. And as you start to have that point of view, you'll find that then things happen in an easier way, in the sense that people perceive you in a new light, because they'll at least respect the fact that you are being yourself, even if they don't agree with it. Even if they don't like some of the things and characteristics that you have, they'll say that you are being yourself, and that is a perfect demonstration of how we can express ourselves 100%. So I hope this video today helps you understand more about who you are projecting yourself to be, how you can move those charges over so that you can actually start to appreciate yourself more, and then understand how going forward you can start to develop the perfect version of yourself and start to become that. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, share it if you found it of value, and as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste. Alright, bye. See ya.